I bid you all good morning, good evening, and good night. Thanks for watching, tuning in, and liking and subscribing. Man, do I have a little bit of a headline here that's making headways, that's kind of being hidden. And hot war to hide inflation? Was it something that we said on this transmission? Well, let's take a look. Thanks for joining us. And news hitting the headlines today, especially if you're looking at what's happening down in Canada. Now, we've been discussing the housing affordability in Canada and Australia, New Zealand, and the UK and the blue states of America, how they're being basically taken over by money laundering. And money laundering has destroyed affordability. And I'm not going to get into this in this video. All I want to talk about is the people on the ground, the middle class, blue collar, whether it's blue collar, white collar middle class, even working poor are going to be hit and affected. And yes, the price of food's going to go up, Mike. Who cares? Everything is going up. Yeah, but this is a little bit different. I think the price of food's going to go up to a point where food banks are going to be overwhelmed, which they already are. And this was already happening pre-2019. And that's why YouTube is attacking videos and removing videos pre-2020, because they just want to not create awareness to the people on what was happening before, right? But we have it here. We have it down pat here. All right, guys, let's go into article scan here. Bank of Canada holds rates but hikes inflation outlook. So this is not good. We needed to raise rates. We've been warning you guys they needed to raise rates for almost 10 years now on this channel to hedge inflation. Now, if they raised rates a long time ago, we would have been in our second or third correction today in 2023. And this article is from our friends over at Better Dwelling. You should check them out. We've been referencing their articles for years now. Canada's central bank made no changes in its key interest rate, but the hikes may not be over. So they're warning, hey, we're going to kind of test the waters here. We're going to see where things are going to go. As the market expected, the Bank of Canada, BOC, made no changes to rates this morning. Eroding consumer spending and a slow economy were amongst the reasons cited. They did raise their inflation outlook, though, indicating hikes may not be over. And then again, they are testing the waters. It's very simple, folks. No change to the Bank of Canada, so the Canadians with variable rate mortgages can sigh a relief for at least the rest of the afternoon. The Bank of Canada overnight rate remains unchanged at 5%. Now, what did we tell you rates needed to be? The bank rates needed to be by 2022. Well, we'll go to that in a second. As the market expected, it's currently near the highest level in 2 decades. A big change for most households in the country. A whole generation of adults have never seen interest rates at this level. Apparently, post-global financial crisis levels of liquidity was thought to be the new normal. No. And then it goes in to say the Bank of Canada's hawkish tone made it clear it's too early to dismiss further rate hikes. They warn inflation is sticky and inflationary pressures are re-emerging. If inflation won't come down further, we'll have to use further hikes to bring it back in line. Canada's economy is slowing despite a population boom. So the European expansion in Canada was over in 1993. In 1993, it was almost impossible for Europeans to come to Canada. And in the United States, I think it was earlier. I think it was 1979, 1980, when the United States closed European expansion, basically making it harder for people that actually come in and build the infrastructure, the highways, the electrical companies, the sewer systems, the sky rises, all that stuff, high rises, or whatever you say, however you say it. But then that stopped. And now we're starting to see these cities crumbling because of that. And now it's no one to maintain it, right? So bringing in a population boom, which we discuss here, the Bank of Canada is seeing fading exceptions despite persistent and robust population growth. They only see 1% annual growth for real GDP. Why? Because GDP is tied to housing, right? That's something we brought up here many times. Bank of Canada raises inflation outlook, meaning more hikes may come. Of course they're going to come. So we'll tell you right now, they are going to come. Food is going to get so expensive, right? We've been warning food's going to get expensive years ago. This is going to be catastrophic. This is beyond expensive. No major forecast may see higher rates now, but today's data can change. The Bank of Canada raised its inflation forecast by 0.2% to 3.9% in 2023. It made an even bigger revision next year, raising its forecast to 0.5 points. These are all peanut numbers. They're not actual, factual, on the ground numbers where numbers need to be in place. We're getting these numbers off these artificial charts that they make with these artificial inflationatory when they keep removing stuff from the basket. So you start getting, oh, okay, so housing's not part of inflation. This is not part of inflation. This is not. So then what are they gauging this on, right? What are they telling us? They change, they renegotiate the rules as they go along all the time. So now you could click off the channel now. All I wanted to say is food is going to get more expensive. The cost of living is going to get more expensive. And, oh, Mike, yeah, so what? Everybody's saying that. Well, no. Here's what we've been telling you for years now. Let's go into that. So you could click off the channel if you've already heard this stuff. So a year ago, we were telling you guys, 11 months ago, inflation is so bad, even high-income Americans are going to the dollar store. With inflation at a 4-decade high and food prices being enormously affected, it's no surprise that Americans, even those in higher income brackets, have been heading to discount stores. Inflation riots to engulf the world. People are fed up with deteriorating economic conditions. 10 months ago. Canada's inflation hits the 39-year high. But, I mean, Bank of Canada is not bringing any of this stuff up into the equation. They're just, and this was a year, 10 months ago, right? Food inflation set to take off. Unbelievable price of local caught fish in New Zealand. Property tax invasion. Inflation crisis versus interest rate crisis. Trends in the housing market. Energy emergency rate cut in Canada. So are they going to pivot? Are they going to pivot and lower rates? Are they going to pivot and now lower rates and have to play the and start to see hyperinflation in Canada? Are we going to see hyperinflation in Canada? Say hello to inflation, goodbye to savings. So they already raised rates in Canada, but they decided 4 years ago they were raising rates, and they went ahead and started to lower rates. It's another rate cut. Emergency rate cut. So we're seeing hyperinflation ahead, money to lose 98% of value, wages not keeping up with inflation 5 years ago, 10 months. It's getting grim. We need to face the music. I think our money has lost 80% of its value today. By 2024, it may be 98%. Wages have not kept up with inflation in the past 40 years. Double-digit inflation ahead. Who do we blame? And inflation blame game. 2 years, 9 months ago. Double-digit inflation on the way. Rates stay the same. Brace yourselves. Buy and stock food. 6 years, 9 months ago. And then if you go back to this, we were saying Pow and the Kisser. Notice how they don't mention housing prices. This is by design to wipe out the Canadian middle class. So this is something we've been extremely inflation, gas, fuel, world of inflation. Hyperinflation will destroy your savings and dreams. Store food now. It just keeps going on. And this is what we predicted from earlier in the article. Interest rates are headed to 9% by 2022. Must watch or inflation will creep up. So we still are behind. And if you watch that video, I go on the graph up until 2022, what inflation needs to be at. And again, we are here because of money laundering. Wages not keeping up with inflation. Lower rates ahead. Wages versus productivity explained 4 years, 5 months ago. And inflation will be the death of us. Money will be worthless. Major food hikes. Morning coffee with Mike 2 years, 4 months ago. Major. So remember where they're talking about Canada's GDP? Now, remember in the article they were talking here about Canada where was it? It's right here. Canada's economy is slowly, slowing despite a population boom. So they're playing the supply and demand and bringing in more people to try and buy up the housing. But we were warning you guys 3 months ago, major Canadian real estate debt passed 76% of GDP, mass inflation, real estate debt from where? Where's the article from? Better Dwelling. Canadian real estate debt passed 76 points. Tax hikes ahead. So food set to skyrocket all over Los Angeles, London, Auckland, Sydney. We must raise rates to curb inflation. Economy headed for a dramatic collapse. Prepare now. It just keeps going on and on and on. Now, I'm going to read to you guys. So my electricity bill came in, and we've read multiple bills that have arrived at my door and showing you guys what we're paying. So I got a warning on the back here. Says, your account contains additional taxes and charges. Please see bill details for more information. So the basic charge for my electricity coverage, blah, blah, blah. The basic charge is $13.13. And then after all of the surcharges, rate riders, taxes, I don't know what all this account charges, there's a zero balance forward, I might add. And then electrical charges, subtotal 148. And then they add taxes, and they don't even show the PST on here. They actually removed the PST from the bills and added different taxes so that you can't find a way to expense your PST. And now it's $156.49, and it went up from last month from $125.34. So they're already giving a little red warning on there that the price of your power will go up. The price of electricity will go up. And we've been really warning you about energy. Let's see what we got for energy here. So a lot of people are like, "Oh, Mike, you're not making a lot of housing videos anymore. You're not." Yeah. Well, everything is coming to an end. Like, we're at the end now, at the end cycle. We tried to get people to wake up to the fact that we're in very dangerous territory. We tried so hard, 5,000 videos to warn people, and 1,600, I don't even know how many live streams, to warn people about this. Anything I said fell on deaf ears. Nobody really, some people took into account, but no one took me seriously. So, yeah. And this is what we're reporting, a year, 9 months ago. A tsunami of shutoffs. 20 million U.S. homes are behind on energy bills. Right? Energy struggle. Massive energy wars ahead and rationing ahead and greedy governments fight. 5 years ago. My opinion, issues with power. What's happening in your neck of the woods? This will start locally and then become a global issue by 2023 as government starts war over inflation. We talked about war over inflation. Inflation wars. We talked about this, guys. Right here, Mike in the Night, inflation to the moon. We need a war to hide double-digit inflation. 3 years, 10 months ago. Hot war ahead. China GDP retracting. Print money. But inflation will creep in fast. 6 years ago. They could get out of it by printing money for a while, but then that diminishes. That goes to nowhere. Right? So, food riots ahead. Oil wars, just non-stop. And then we talked about the BRICS nations 7-8 years ago. 60% of Canadian parents worried they won't be able to feed their families. This is crazy. This is absolutely nuts. But it's happening. And why is it happening? Because we put trust into selected. We put trust into selected people that were selected to manage our banking system, to manage our overall futures. These selected people that were put into power, selected to manage, into the power of Treasury, to manage these things for us. And we never elected these people. They just were put into place. And you're going to be now Bank of Canada, or you're going to be the Treasurer in the United States, or you're going to be Bank of Australia. You're going to be this, and you're going to be that. And and people don't have a choice in the matter how their futures are going to be impoverished because of the deregulated banking system. The banking system had major regulations on it to protect the people. Now, the average Joe Donuts has no idea, thinking his bank is on his side and his bank loves him. Your bank doesn't love you and your bank doesn't care about you. Be prepared for major food will go up again now. Now that they've put a halt, our currency halt to raising interest rates, our currency will continue to devalue, and the price of food is going to continue to skyrocket. And then they're going to have to find a way because wages need to keep in pace with inflation. And that's going to be nuts. And they're going to put pressure on the minimum wage jobs, and you're going to see corporations close. Corporations will close because they'll be pressured to raise minimum wage to astronomical levels. And minimum wage is not a living wage, folks. Remember, we talked about that on here for years. Minimum wage is not a living wage. It's to get by from high school. When you're done high school, grade 9, you go work a summer job, save some money, buy a car. Grade 10, save some money. By grade 12, you have enough money to pay for your college in full. That's what minimum wage jobs were for up until 1993. Yeah. Anyways, guys, I'm not going to ramble and rant here. It's already 15 minutes. And if you stuck around for the whole video, thank you so much. Yeah. Anyways, guys, I really appreciate you guys being part of the channel, liking and subscribing. And I'll see you guys Saturday night for Mike in the Nights. Mike Martin's here. I have spoken.